Having children. Now, we have four. I was raised one of just two kids. And I tell you, for me, it was great. It was great fun of being a child in a family and raising kids as well. Not particularly a challenge. It has its challenging moments. However, in the West, more and more people are choosing not to have children. Or maybe just one or 1.2, which has always baffled me, 1.2. Rabbi Simcha tells us, this is good now, the case for children.
It's very true. I can tell you the case for not having children. It's well known, it's well publicized. Every study shows they make you less happy, they're quite expensive, and they're not too good for the environment. But I felt getting berated by my fellow progressive Brooklynites every day for having four little polluters, and who knows how many more may appear. I felt the need to write the case, because I believe there's a strong case.
Well, certainly you'd have more disposable income and more disposable time without children, but I didn't know the studies said that people were happier. Are people really happy if they're childless?
It depends. If you're looking for instant gratification, which is the reason why in drugstores you can get candy bars and the National Enquirer by the checkout counter, then don't have kids. If you're looking for meaning, have kids. Studies do show they make you less happy, but I would argue happiness is fleeting and real happiness comes from meaning, which comes from having children.
And there's also the aging process when people get older and maybe they've had a lot of fun in their 20s, 30s, 40s, but as they're aging without children and then without grandchildren, there must at some point be a vacuum in their lives.
Well, biology will always trump ideology as far as reproduction is concerned. And the most endangered species on Earth is not the polar bear or the panda, but people. And I see a generation in Brooklyn, certainly, that are older, not having children, and are missing something. They're miserable, they're bored, and they come to me, they say, Rabbi, I've done everything. I've been everywhere. I'm a professional. I've traveled the world, but I never had kids, and now it's too late.
There is, I mentioned it earlier, and you referred to it as well, there is this notion that having a child, as a Westerner at least, is somehow a sinful thing to do because of the carbon footprint. And as you have four children, we have four children, there are some who think that we're appalling irresponsible people to have done that. It's one thing to have lots of children in the third world because, you know, then these white liberals will say, oh, well, they'll just die anyway. But if you have them in the West, apparently you're causing enormous problems. How should one react to such people?
Well, you know something, it's interesting because proportionately, families use a far, far smaller carbon footprint than singles. You know, I have four kids and we use the same gas tooling around, six of us, me, my wife, and four kids, than a single person. We use the same tube of toothpaste, the same pot of pasta. So proportionately, we actually are using a far less carbon footprint. We use less resources. And I really believe the answer is education and not annihilation. If we don't have children, then who are we saving the world for?
Yes, that's true. And we often hear about population problems, population explosion. And if anyone who looks at this will realize that it's simply untrue. Africa is underpopulated. Most European countries are underpopulated. I mean, certainly there are large populations in India and China, but it doesn't seem to be a major issue. And I've read this statistic, and I did some research on it, that the entire population of the world could live in Texas. Why they'd want to, I don't know. But apparently they could. They could all live in Texas and they wouldn't be cramped up. They'd have some room. And so the world is certainly not overpopulated. But that's just an excuse. I think it all comes down really to, for most people at least, to selfishness. I don't want kids because it's all about me.
Right. It's very true. I get that all the time. You made the Texas comment, not me, by the way. I don't want to get in trouble with anybody in Texas. But if you look at the numbers, you may question my wisdom or my sanity. You know, we just welcomed the 7th billionth person, and very soon we'll see the 10 billionth person. But in truth, if you crunch the numbers, we're not really breeding like rabbits. We just stopped dropping like flies. And the majority of people that will inhabit the earth in 20 years have already been born. It will start to decline and start to decline rapidly. When I wrote the book, I have to be honest, I was very fundamentalist. I thought that the child-free movement were very selfish, very egotistical, but I've since realized the reasons people are not having children, they're actually very altruistic. They care about the world, they care about the resources, they care about finances, they're frugal. And I really believe the reason people are not having children are exactly the reason why they need to be having children. And I really believe that the child-free movement would make the best parents. And it may sound a little crazy, but I'm really calling for child-free parents because I think that's what the world needs more of.
I mean, I'm sort of in the middle on this. There are many fine, good people who choose. We're not talking about people who can't have children, but people who choose not to have children and they think it's a good thing. But there are many others, though, because they're not going to parent anyway. As soon as the children are there, they'll be in daycare, they'll be nannies, they'll hardly see them. So I have to ask you, by the way, before the interview ends, because there's a certain twang that breaks through occasionally, which is not Brooklyn. Are you originally from somewhere like Leeds or Manchester?
Wow, I'm impressed. I am a soccer zealot. I'm a Manchester City football club fanatic, and I'm proudly from Manchester.
I thought I could detect that. Why on earth would you leave a wonderful city like Manchester for... Oh, yeah, I think I've answered the question. Great pleasure. The book's available at most bookstores now, is it?
Yes.
Good stuff.
It's available in bookstores and on Amazon and obviously all over the web.
Good. And by the way, I was joking. I love Manchester very much indeed. For all those people who are watching now, I even don't mind Manchester City. Thank you for your time, Rabbi. Good luck with the book.
Anytime. Thank you.